welcome to my Week 2 LCK Power Rankings. I'm going to go over the teams 10 to 1 like I did last week. I do this for all 4 major regions. The LPL came out yesterday. The LEC will come out tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. I do daily reviews of the games that happen in the morning when you're not watching. In the LPL and LCK, if you're not up that early. I cover those games in a much shorter format than you watching it. Noting the key moments and time stamping them for you so you know around the nearest minute when things happen. But nevertheless, you're here for Power Rankings. 10th, I have DRX. So, DRX is 10th. They lost to Damwon and Sandbox. I have them dropping actually 5 spots. They probably are better than 10th, but I really don't know what the heck to do with the teams that are 5th through 10th because they all beat each other or lost to each other, in the exception of Kwangdong Freaks, which lost to 2 teams I have in my top 4. So I don't really know where to put them because against these other teams, how are they going to do? But DRX disappointed me. Their bot lane should be better than it is playing. Losing to Sandbox is not acceptable, I think, the way they did. And they really didn't really give me any reason to feel hopeful about them. Then again, like I said, they were my 5th ranked team a week ago. I know it's a big move to have them drop to 10th, but they're 0-2 and they didn't impress me. 9th, sorry, my board's all over the place. It's literally, I'm this close to a halo showing up on the top. It might have shown up already, to be honest with you. Nevertheless, Hanwha Life Esports went 1-1 this week. Beat Nanshan Red Force, who I have higher in the rankings, but also lost to Fred at Breon. Fred at Breon and them, they went to 3 games, but HLE really, their pieces are still not impressive. So I don't really know if they're much better than this bottom row of teams anyway, still to this moment. Red Force kind of gives you a mixed bag, and HLE I think has potential to get better, given that their players are younger, but at the same time, I don't have a lot of faith in them. 8th place, I have the Freaks, Kwangdong Freaks. They are not... they have some pieces there that are interesting, like Teddy, but they lost both games. They lost to T1 and KT. I have them in my top 4, like I said, so I don't know how these guys fare against these bottom tier teams. I think they'll do well, because Teddy can probably outright just carry against teams like HLE and maybe even Sandbox or Fred at Breon. But as of right now, I have them 8th because they are 0-2, and I don't feel like I can put them much higher. 7th. 7th, I have Red Force. Red Force didn't move either. Beat Sandbox, but lost to HLE, which is a bigger deal, even though they beat Sandbox, and I have Sandbox 6th. Red Force should be doing better. They don't have as much upside, in my opinion. Like, you have BDD and Ghost, and that's great. Like, you have 2 really good players. But the problem is, you didn't beat HLE. Like, and HLE stinks on paper. So they have to pick it up. That's not good enough. What they've done is not good enough. Losing to Sandbox, who is a young team with potential. Sandbox can finish, I think, all the way up to 4th place based on how the teams look so far this split. There's a lot of movement here that could be made, and Sandbox is my best bet to be that 4th team, I think, out of the dark horses. They beat HLE, they beat DRX, lost to Red Force, but I think that long term they have more upside, and this isn't necessarily supposed to be knee-jerk from this past week, but more so, how are they going to look when the season ends? I think that they have potential to move even farther. 5th, this is my if they continue to play the way they are playing, they will be in this middle ground here, 5th through 7th. Fred and Brian plays the slowest, most boring style of League of Legends ever, and in that same breath, that makes you an average team. And 5th place out of 10 is average. They beat HLE, lost to T1, so really how do they do against these other teams that are below them? We don't know. Maybe they're competitive because they did take a game off of T1 and they play a slow style of game where other people make mistakes. These other teams make mistakes. Fred and Brian's like, we're not going to make a mistake. We will literally just not do anything until you do. And then when you screw up, we will attack. And I mean, Fred and Brian is going to be a boring as hell team all year long, and they could finish in the 4th place too, just like Sandbox for the opposite reason. Sandbox will give you a surprise, might, give you some pizzazz and steal a game off of a top 3 team because they're so young and have the ability to do so. Where Fred and Brian's like, T1, 2-1. We slow played at T1, underestimated us. They lose a game, but in the end, I mean, Fred and Brian loses because T1's like, oh crap, this team isn't really, we're better than this team. We should beat them. 4th place, maybe the most disappointing team so far, KT. They beat Kwangdong but lost to DK. Arya I harp on it every time I talk about KT. I wish Arya was better. We'll see how he does over the split. But so far, he has not been impressive. But top lane has. And that is all they've got. Like, they are really doing work in the top lane. And that is where they're going to get their advantages. Go through top. That's what they're going to have to do. 3rd, I mean, I don't know what to... I can't believe they're 3rd. I mean, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. They lost to Gen.g, okay. In a 3-game series where all the weird games where all the teams that won didn't actually have more kills than the person that they beat. Nevertheless, I don't know if they beat T1 because that gaping hole in top lane is so blinding right now. I mean, what the heck? They have to... I mean, after 2 games, yes, it's 2 games. Okay, well, that's really, like, aggressive and knee-jerk to say, like, wow, Damwon stinks. No, Damwon doesn't stink. But when push comes to shove, these teams are going to be... All 3 of these teams are going to be in the argument for the top 10 in the world. And when I think... How does Damwon fare against the top teams in China right now? I don't know how Damwon does because in 4 roles they're very, very competitive, if not better. But in the top lane, I mean, in a top lane meta, they are going to get smoke showed. I mean, they have to cross their fingers for a tank meta because, or swap to Birdall because as of right now, Hoya is not getting it done. He is the reason they lost to Gen.g. 2nd place, I have T1. T1 beat Kwangdong and Fred at Brian. We'll see how they do against a top team. Who knows? Maybe, I guess, they might be worse than Damwon if they get exposed. But as of right now, T1 looks solid. Gumiushi looks solid. The whole team looks solid. Karia is a great support. Very bold support. I have them 2nd. I mean, I don't expect them to drop any farther than 3rd. I think these 3 teams are the cream of the crop. The only team that might be able to surprise me is, like I said, Sandbox. I think Sandbox has the potential to just surprise people all the time with their bold young players and things like that. I think they could do work, but like a team like Brian has no chance against these 3, and KT has some work to do in the mid lane before they compete with these guys like that. First place, Gen.g. Goes without saying, obviously. Beat Damwon, beat DRX. The series against Damwon had its problems, but they won. And, I mean, hell, if you're 2-0 and you were 1st in the 1st week, you got to stay 1st in the 2nd week. I don't see them losing games to anyone else, any series to anyone else besides T1 or Damwon, based on paper as of right now with this current meta. Nevertheless, those are my rankings. DRX 10th, Gen.g 1st. I probably had knee-jerk reaction for Freda Brion and DRX, but in my opinion, like I said, I think Brion has the play style that's boring as hell that could get the job done. And DRX is disappointing me. And yeah, so thank you for watching my power rankings for the LCK. If you missed my LPL ones, like I said, I did them yesterday. LEC will be out tomorrow. LCS will be out Thursday. So thank you for watching, and like and subscribe. Constructive criticism is good criticism, and I hope to see you again soon.